the Anime Dojo. I'm alongside Chris tonight. Chris, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, bruh. Hanging in tonight.
Yes, yep, hanging in. It's got kind of chilly over on our side, inside the states. Now we're getting into our fall, so it's the time where getting Thanksgiving, getting into the holiday season. Hope everybody does have a good Thanksgiving coming this Thursday if you are in the states. Let's get into tonight because we have a couple things to get into. We have High Dive, the anime company or anime streaming company that does a lot of your more mature anime. They look like they are shutting down. We'll get into that story. Also, JJK might be going down with Mappa. We'll explain that. That is something kind of weird, oddly reasons behind that one, but we might not have no more JJK for a bit. We'll also explain what we're going to do as a podcast about that as well as that. That is going to be happening maybe this week, maybe next week. We haven't really got a thing about the next episode yet for this Thursday, if we are going to get one. And then Chris is going to bring up something that I saw a little bit about myself, didn't really get to get into it. DC doing an AI-generated show. So he'll get into that. And we'll also have the anime charts as well. So we have a little things to get into. And we'll get into Dead My Death Play episode 41, and then or Dead Mountain Death Play episode 19 and JJK episode 41. We'll have those on the docket as well. So let's get into this. We're going to start off with High Dive. So High Dive is officially going to be shutting down. This is kind of a weird thing because High Dive was doing pretty well. Not really anything bad with the service. The service is mainly known for having anime and shows that are more mature content. So like Dark Gathering, Afro Samurai, things that have a lot of mature themes, but also more bloody, more gory, things like that. Last week they put out a thing that saying they are going to be shutting down. They are owned by AMC, which is the theater company, but also it's a subsidiary of another company as well, combined with like an older company that bought them originally. Chris, what do you think about High Dive leaving? What do you think that means for Crunchyroll and other streaming sites?
So because High Dive is maybe shutting down, their contracts are going to be open for the grab. Now, with Crunchyroll being one of our largest American providers of, our largest providers of anime to Americans besides the local internet, we're kind of looking at them to pick up their contracts. I, for one, would like to see them pick up the contracts that they lost in their merger.
Okay. And that's the merger with Funimation. When Funimation had to drop, when they merged with Funimation, a lot of those contracts dropped out because of that. So then they got picked up by the companies because of that merger and things Funimation couldn't keep. Speaking of this, what do you think of High Dive as a service? Because me and you have kind of talked about it's kind of weird that you have shows like Dark Gathering on there and nowhere else. Do you think High Dive was a good service? Do you think the service there was a reason behind the service, or do you think it was kind of redundant?
Repeat the question one more time.
Do you think High Dive as a service was a good thing, or do you think it was more redundant because it was only there for mature stuff, not much else?
Well, as far as political reasons, they were there, I think, to help keep a monopoly. To help keep one anime service from ruling them all, so to speak. Now,
Oh,
but however, with them, like I said, with them picking up the contracts, that is going to open up a door that they could be opening up Pandora's box. Let's just say it like that.
okay. Um, I also think it's kind of funny because me and Chris were watching a couple anime last night. We were watching Dead My Death Play. We watch it the day it comes out just to kind of have a kind of idea what we're going to do for the podcast. And then we were watching Shy, which really got good. But other things, I kind of looked through the anime list. Well, they added Afro Samurai, which is very popular, but also very violent, which is interesting because it hasn't been on there prior. So that might be a new thing they're going to add along the way. Me and Chris have talked about this. We think Crunchyroll should have a mature section anyway, and just do it in a way where it's more like you have to verify your age or verify something.
Well,
because if you're gonna
you have to just know what you're looking for.
correct, even that, like if you're gonna just put it on there and you have to search for it, fine. That's what most people need to do. I'm okay with that. I just think it's weird because you have that for High Dive was that, and then you had Crunchyroll, then you had Netflix, you had Hulu, you had Disney, but Crunchyroll's the number one. Like that's the weird thing, and they have most of the anime people want to see. Outside of you getting a tape for certain things, you can find it on Crunchyroll. I think that's going to be the main point of this. Do I think High Dive is going to end up selling to one of the other big companies? No. I think it's just going to go get shut. It's going to maybe shutting down, and then everything just goes up in the air from there.
Well, you have to
Um,
admit it's pretty interesting when you think about a company is choosing to shut down versus to try to sell their company with their contracts.
Correct. Because I would have thought, hey, I'm thinking Sony, do you have any extra money? Well, you can buy us out completely and just own all that library.
But
And
then
they
they couldn't do that because that would be the monopolization.
correct, which they would monopolizing the anime or the streaming service of anime under one roof, and they have two of the three right now. They can't have all three, so that'd be kind of weird. I'll be interested to see where the story goes. I don't know if we're gonna see them officially announce they're shutting down anytime soon within the next couple weeks or so. If anything, we might see them at the end of the year, closer to the end of the year, closer to being next year where they officially do shut down. But do I think they're fully gonna shut down? Yes. If they've already talked about it in articles and things, I think yes they're gonna fully shut down. Then something will change later. Um Going from that to what's going on with JJK. So if you're a JJK fan, you're probably seeing the news. JJK might be on a little bit of hiatus for a couple weeks because of what's happening at MAPPA. I'm gonna say this right now. What's going on with MAPPA, I agree with the animators, I agree with the directors, I agree with the people who are working for MAPPA. They deserve better working conditions, more pay, all that kind of stuff. That's not even a question. Seeing the episodes we've gotten the last couple weeks with JJK, seeing the stuff with Attack on Titan, seeing the stuff with Chainsaw Man, Hell's Paradise. I can go down a list of stuff they've made. But at the same time, when you're really working, you finish an episode for something, and then you have to work on the next episode the next day and have to get it out by the next week. And you're only getting the episode out within a couple hours of it going airing on Japan. That's bad.
Mm.
Like, ultimately, think about this. And I looked this up when me and Chris talked about it. MAPPA's only been around since 2002. Or, yeah, MAPPA's been around since 2002. Places like Madhouse, uh, Kenpuki Video, streaming like places that have done this for a long time, been around since the 70s, like 70, 72, or I think Madhouse, somebody else was around since the early 90s. So these have been around. Some of these studios have been around for a long time, and they've learned how to do this and make it make sense. Infotable, who makes Demon Slayer, by the way, have made it make sense. Before I continue, I'm gonna let Chris talk, but I'll say this. Mappa had got themselves in a lot of deepness because you picked up so many things. They picked up Attack on Titan when the studio who previous made it dropped it. They picked it off and then finished it. You had Dead on Death Play. You had JJK. You had Chainsaw Man, which didn't do to their expectations. You picked up all these projects to get like this high like this reputation of like doing these great things, but then you ended up having a hard time keeping up with that. Chris, what do you think about this whole situation with MAPPA and JJK? What's going to go on with that?
Man, so it's a sticky situation no matter how you look at it, man. Like nobody should be forcibly missing hours or have a chance to where they cannot go home and rest and like literally rest.
Mm-hmm.
Like people, human beings, we are not machines. And this day you can't even call machines because with AI.
Nope. Nope.
So I mean, and eventually, if you work a machine so long without giving it proper maintenance, it's going to shut down.
It's going to break. Yep.
So these are just now I can understand wanting to hype your popularity up so quick and so hard to make it to get there. but it shouldn't be at the cost of your people, your own people. That kind of pisses me off a little bit. And a matter of fact, Zom 100 gave the perfect reference to it. Now, isn't that ironic?
Yes, they did. And the guy who was in the main character in Zom 100 hated his job to the point where he was always there. He never did anything else. And he got so burnt out to the point he overslept one day. To the point where a zombie apocalypse breakout. And he felt a burden fall off his shoulders. I will say this. The thing is, I get Mappa want to be one of the top animation studios in Japan. I also get Japan's culture. Japan's culture is normally known for you working long hours, you're there till the boss leaves, all that kind of stuff. And I will say, me and Chris both live in America. Unlike in America, where when people started having those problems, what's the first thing most Americans did? We said we wanted more work-life balance, where we're not working those high hours anymore. We're not doing all that work. You balance it out where you're doing maybe 40 hours a week, 45 hours, maybe at the most 48. But you're not there every day. And you're not trying
Exactly.
to burn yourself out. You still have a time to go home, be with your family, play with your kids, all that kind of stuff. And it took the US, what do you think, Chris, till after COVID to figure that out?
Yeah, I mean,
COVID was the catalyst for it in
it
the States.
was.
COVID was the catalyst for it in the States, and it forced it more often. But also for Mappa's case, I think for me, and you probably can agree with this, Chris. You can be this hotshot studio, but then when you try to be this hotshot studio, you have to keep the same quality you started out with when you first started, and that's hard to do. Which Mappa can do it, but it's also overly difficult to keep that same passion for doing that. You have very passionate people who want to do what they're doing right now, being animators, being directors, being those type of people. Like, if you're working them to the bone to the point where they can't even get a modicum of rest, that's bad. But at the same time, you want to keep that high end quality, like movie level quality.
Mm-hmm.
That's also hard to achieve. And I say this with games all the time. I'll bring it back to games, and I will always say this with games. For gaming, I always thought it was funny because they always did crunch, which is the equivalent to what they're doing here in Mappa, where they have to finish a project within a certain time period to get it out to consumers. And yet you're doing the thing where you worked every day, you're always at your desk, you might stay at the office, take a shower, then sleep at your desk. Things like that was not great. But then the industry's like, crunch is bad. We don't need to do crunch. If you do, most fans are be okay if you delay a game by a month or two.
With streaming services and being able to watch episodes at a time, yes.
Like that was video games where it was like we can delay our game by a month or 2 months, and then we get the
Or a
stuff done,
year,
or a year and a half, and we get the stuff done
yes.
right. And I have to applaud Zom 100 for this. And it's going to be a weird comparison. Zom 100 at least said we're going to go on hiatus. We'll get the last episodes out when we can. For this, it was the same problem. They couldn't get TV spots. They were taking too long. All that kind of stuff. But then they announced we're going to do all 5 episodes on Christmas Day, the rest of the series. Ultimately, is that kind of odd? Yes. But in the long run, did it help the people that probably worked on the show? Absolutely.
Are we mad at them? Not at all.
No, because we understand, hey, okay, we're going to finish the series eventually. We need to work out the kinks in the studio, then we'll get them out. That's what's happening in December. Would I be okay with Mappa taking a month break? Yes. And Chris will probably agree.
Take a break, guys. You deserve it.
Like if they take a month break, it's not going to ruin JJK.
No.
They can come back and finish season 2 because season 2 is so hype already. Like,
If anything, it'll build up a suspense.
Correct. It would build a suspense, and you've already had this episode alone does something that I think we're gonna watch. If they do take a break, you built the suspense up. You left a character who's literally came back We haven't seen a couple episodes. Has came back and now he's ready to fight again. So leave us there. I'm fine with that. Like, to me, ultimately, and this is the thing about the games, I don't care if a game runs well. I do not care that the game is in 1080p or 1440p. I don't need 4K. I don't need ray tracing. I don't need that level of visual quality as long as it runs at 60 frames per second. As long as it can run at the highest frame rate to where the game's smooth. For most anime, I don't care because the art style is the art style of the animation team. As long as it looks crisp enough, there might be little small things here and there you miss, but it's the intention of the animators who drew it and make it. It looks crisp. It's your vision. It doesn't have to be movie level quality. And I think that's what Mappa's been getting at for the longest time. They want this movie level quality stuff. So I'll ask you, Chris, with this situation, I hope I'm not wrong what I'm saying, but also, do you think that's the same thing for you in general about how this is for you watching anime?
For the most part, I can agree with that. I mean, it just you just have to realize everything is our perspective. Nothing can be looked at in just one way.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, and the other thing about this story, which was actually kind of funny, which most people don't know about because you probably don't hear it much used, everybody at MAPPA had to sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, which means they can't leak anything out, they can't talk about anything, they can't even go on Twitter, which a couple, the director and an animator did go on Twitter after this whole situation started. And it promptly deleted their tweets after, but it was out there. Things stay on the internet forever. And people screenshot things. So that wasn't surprising. Basically saying
Right.
this whole situation was bad. My only thing with this, I think, was going to show you what happened in gaming. I think will also hit the anime world. They saw gaming kind of fell off a little bit of a cliff when Crunch kind of took over for certain studios. If this hits a cliff where they see Mappa having the same problems and other studios around the world, other studios in Japan, even around the world, are like, yeah, we'll let our people rest. We're not going to push them too hard. I think that's going to change the industry for the better. Because naturally, when you're working on an episode, I forget if it's not an article I read, but it's in the YouTube video I watched. On average, an episode should take you about 2 weeks to make, maybe 2.5, 3 at the longest point. But only doing it within a week, that's hard to do.
You literally cutting your time in half, boy.
Yes, you are. I will say this: if you want some more details on this, go watch the Weeb Commander. He has a YouTube channel. He did a video on this. He talks about everything. I kind of use that as my base, but also like read the article myself as well. I'm going to be like most people. First, the people's helps come first. Secondly, that trumps any anime, any show, anything like that. If you're a fan of what they do, most people do care about what's going on. And a lot of people came out on Twitter and Instagram, all that kind of stuff to talk about it as well. Going alongside that, me and Chris have decided if we don't get another episode of JDK, we are going to start Attack on Titan from the beginning through for the rest of the season. Rest of this season into the winter season. We'll pick one winter anime to do alongside it as well. That's our plan. But ultimately, if JDK come back somewhere randomly, we heard JDK come back, we'll finish out JDK season 2. So that is going to be done. We will review the rest of JDK season 2. That will be finished. And then after that, they will maybe take a little bit of break. We won't see JDK for a bit after that point. But before I finish, Chris, do you think we're going to see more of this happen within the anime community? Or do you think this is a one-off situation?
Well, I hope it's a one-off situation because any companies that were doing this will no longer do it in fear of being put out there. So hopefully, but I do see a change in how we see anime coming with this being said because I feel that animes can come out of quote unquote being seasonal, like you just like they come out whenever they want to, so to speak.
Yeah, that was the other thing I thought about too. I'm like, you don't have to be a seasonal anime. In a sense, like you don't have to come out just in the fall season or just in the winter season or just in the summer season. Dead Mount Death Play did a little bit of break and then they came back with season one, part one or part two. And then literally, but they had a whole like 3 months or something before we knew about that. Because the first season came out in like almost a year ago now. So like that's interesting. I think that's a good thing because I don't think seasonal anime should be a thing. I think whenever it's ready, whenever it's done, put it out. People are going to be happy no matter what, and people are going to be clamoring for it anyway. Also, the mangas are done for most of these shows. If you really want that, get the manga. That's why the manga exists for most shows because you can still read the manga and then you still have something to satiate that want of the anime. That's always been a thing.
Always.
Um, I will also bring this up. I did think it was interesting because they talked about the fact that that was the other thing about this story that I thought was kind of weird. So I think that one of the directors and a couple of animators went to the board for MAPPA and the other company that's on that board and said, "Can we have a delay?" The board denied it completely.
Mm, mm, mm.
And that's what started all this stuff because once that happened, then you heard the news come out about everything. Everything kind of flooded Twitter and and Instagram and stuff, and that's where the story came from. When literally your animators and your board is asking for a delay, now games do it. Games do it easily. Games will say, "Oh, we're gonna do a month delay." Fine.
Yeah,
I know
we'd be like,
shows.
all right.
We're like, cool, fine. We can wait. Shows are hard. I know shows have a deadline. I get that. But a delay for making something that's going to be like animated and drawn, eh. Like if they wanted like a week or 2 week delay, fine. Like episode 41 wasn't like episode 41 we're about to watch today pretty soon wasn't bad. So like it's hard to feel bad for Mappa when the animators are asking for delay personally. They're asking for delay to make something better. And Mappa don't want to lose money because JJK has their money, like money cash cow. Literally, outside of that and outside of Attack on Titan, literally everything else, like Chainsaw Man. One, I don't know about Hell's Paradise. We don't have nerfs for
You know,
that, but
but
like,
that explains why we have so many quote unquote last seasons of Attack on Titan. And then now here they come with an alternate version. Yep, yep.
that and see that's the other thing. You did three was it three final seasons Attack on Titan. Final season part one, final season part two, the final season, the hour and a half long special part two.
Oh, and guess
Like,
what? We have an alternate ending coming out next year.
like what?
Really, y'all? Really?
Like,
Really?
like, that tell you how much they were pushing Attack on Titan to like see how much they can get out of it. The problem was to a point the manga's already done. You can't go past the manga. And you were stretching it out so far, like people I'm like, okay, wow. And I don't mind it. And people always talk about Attack on Titan's animation's gone down since Mappa took over. It looks different, but it doesn't look as much different as what they do with JDK and a couple other things. But ultimately, I'm fine with it. I liked Attack on Titan. I have the first 2 seasons on DVD. Like, it was one of the better shows. That's the first show I really got into as a fan of anime. outside like Devil May Cry and other things. But
See, Brandon, I
like,
am a firm believer of let sleeping dogs lie.
in what sense?
Like, if a show was bad, why would you try to revive it? Not saying that Attack on Titan is bad, but after so long, you can only do so much.
And see, I don't remember. I never remember why the other studio dropped it. They never said why the other studio had dropped it. The first studio who made the first 2 seasons, and they never meant. I've never heard. I never really heard that story and why. Then why did Mop pick it up randomly? It was. I know it was popular at the time. It was still pretty popular, but the older because the studio didn't just have the money for it, the budget. Don't know. But ultimately, to me, what we're going to get into, what we're getting into is this. To me, this doesn't. It's not about Mappa losing money. It's not about the company trying to just keep everything rolling like normal. It's about the people who
Mistreatment of the people.
make who make the show, who direct it, all that stuff. By the way, if you're wondering why we're sympathetic to this, look what just happened in the United States with SAG-AFTRA. And the same issue we had with the writers and the directors and the people who work behind the scenes. I have a broadcasting degree. I understand how much it takes to run a TV show. I also understand how much it takes to run a movie studio. You have more people behind the scenes than you do in front of the camera sometimes.
Boy.
And that's the people that you have to keep. I'm not going to say happy, but understand they're the ones that are working hard to make this show or movie run.
All right, Brandon, let me put this into another perspective.
Go ahead.
I am a musician. I have a talent and skill that I've nurtured, that I've put money into to develop the talent that God gave me. Now, at no point will I accept anything less than what I feel like the ability that I've done with those talents.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, now I know where I stand. I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. But so with that comes with every other artist out there. We demand not only respect for what we do, but but with everything that we put into our craft, we expect to be compensated and treated humanly for it, like any other job.
I, I agree with everything you just say. I'm also add one thing. Here's the thing about it. You're also talking about people who are passionate enough to want to do animation, who want to work in TV and film. You also have people who's passionate, like Chris said, who's into music. As me, I've been into music, I'm into TV, I'm into broadcasting. That's why I do the podcast. That's why I stream. But also, I'm very good at customer service for my job. The thing is, I enjoy helping people. That's why I like my job so much. And that's going to always be the reason I do my job. Yet, here's the thing: when you burn out on your passion, of whatever reason, just overwork, whatever that is, you can leave. For a normal person, you can take a break. You can pull out that. But when you work for a company, it's hard to just cool off. And I think that's what that was happening there because Mappa saw the money flowing in from Attack on Titan, all that kind of stuff, and they knew they couldn't let a delay just break that. A 2-week delay would be nothing for JJK. A week or 2-week delay would be nothing. So you're going into the 1st of January. So yeah, I do agree you would lose TV spots. Yeah, there's an argument for that because you buy the TV spots in advance. Cool. But ultimately, seeing how well JJK do, they could buy those TV slots back with any point in Japan. That's the kind of thing I'm like, okay, y'all are not explaining yourself well.
Exactly. Like you have no reason besides for quote unquote keeping keeping the quota, keeping up with your time, keeping up. Look, at the end of the day, bro, if you don't treat your people right, you won't be making any money. That's at the end of the day, because
Yep.
you're not gonna get people to sign up and to work for your company if you're mistreating them like that.
Yep. Will Me and Chris will keep up with the situation, see how things go. I won't
Yep.
be surprised. I won't be surprised that we get an announcement tomorrow from Anime Corner, Anime Trending, Anime TV on Twitter saying we are getting a new episode of JJK. As of right now, I haven't seen nothing about it. I usually get it in the morning. I'll check tomorrow morning, sometime around like 9 or 10. We'll see if that hits. If it doesn't, we're not getting a new episode of JJK. If it does, I won't be shocked. But also, I won't be shocked if there was concessions made within the company to give people what they needed. So that's fair. But
But
if it's just because you're working for us, you have to do it, then no. That would be bad.
nah, the thing that they need to do is redo their contracts. Tell fans, hey, look, from now on, we are doing an episode every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be down for that. I'm fine with that. There's only 7 episodes left in the season as of right now. Is it
Mm-hmm.
7? Six or seven. Not too many. But before we get into the anime charts, we're gonna do one more thing. Chris, you mentioned this where we were talking before we started the stream. What is Disney doing with AI generated shows? Explain this.
So I'm sure some people have seen pop up on their Instagrams or whatever as a lot of culturally inappropriate Disney animated or shows or movies. Now Disney has come out and openly said that they do not have a problem with it, but the makers of the AI, they did tell them that they do need to take off their trademark logo. This has prompted Microsoft to go ahead and remove Disney from their prompts as well because their AI was doing the same thing.
So is this like when people try to make a movie or try to make a show using Disney characters or Disney characters like characters, but the public domain doesn't have the character in them yet, so you have to kind of change how you make the character to make it not the actual character, but at the same time you're using the Disney branding or something of the branding of the company in the show.
So, so some of the examples that I saw on Instagram were movies like Menace to Society.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Or Juice,
Okay.
where
Yep.
the main characters are are drafted and Disney animated. Now I admit it does look very interesting, but it's like I know Disney is like, nah, bro.
So they're basing making their own movie, but they're using a Disney animation style.
Yes.
Yeah, that touches a gray area. That's a huge gray area because
So
Disney owns that style for the most part.
exactly.
That'd be like if you went to Pixar and used the Toy Story animated style for what they do for Toy Story without
Which is
telling.
pretty much the same style though.
Would
That's the
you?
point.
That's the same style, and you told Pixar, and Pixar found out like, wait, why are you using that? Huh? Yeah,
So
that's getting
AI
that
generated art. There it is.
AI generated stuff is going to be so weird next couple of years because AI can generate things so easily if you tell it what to generate. And
That's,
I don't think it's a good or bad thing. I think it's just there need to be rules around what it can generate because the rules should be more so you can generate something, but you have to fix it after it's generated if it has some kind of style to it or something that resembles a certain style. Um, no, but that's very interesting. I I'll look into that more, and fans should too. I've been following the AI generated stuff, but I'm not a huge like one that looking at that kind of stuff. I'm not a huge fan of AI generated stuff. Some art's cool because they've done. I've heard of AI generated art, which that touches the gray area of actually making art. But even then, like those are also kind of like you can't enter that to an art contest because it's AI generated.
Right.
So there's rules. But yeah, I think those rules need to be more defined with AI generated stuff and how you use it for certain purposes. But let's get into the anime charts before we get into JJK episode 41. So these anime charts changed again. So we're going to look at Crimson went to 1, Beyond Journey End went to 2, JJK went to 3, dropped a spot. The Apothecary Diaries went up a spot to 4. Ender in the Shadows season 2 went up a spot. Spy in the Family went up to 6. Dr. Stone went up to 7. Shangri-La, here's the big one. Shangri-La went up 6 spots to 8. The 100 Girlfriends Who Really Really Love Me went up to 9, jumped 2 spots, and Dark Gathering went up 9 spots. Chris, what is your big takeaway from this chart? Because for me, Shangri-La, yes, please. I am so happy I see that up there again.
I mean, I hope we notice that we are starting to see the a trending top 15, I should say.
Yes. Top 15, top 20, somewhere in there. Yeah. It's those numbers are bouncing around a lot more. But continue.
Right. But with that being said, it's we just had to see the outcome, man. I mean, because
Yeah.
it can go either way.
Yeah. What I will say, which is a guarantee, you're guaranteed to see Journey's End, JJK, The Apothecary Diaries, Crimson, and Dr. Stone is going to be at the end of the year top 10s. Those are going to be a guarantee. Other than that, the rest of them are kind of just up in the air. The other surprise one I'm surprised by 100 Girlfriends, because me and you both thought it was really weird, and yet it's in this top 10. Because I do know this new episode added a girlfriend. That's 4 now out of the 100. Do you think people are getting into it now? Do you think it's just a character they added? What do you think why 100 Girlfriends is in the top 10 now?
I think they added some kind of seduction to it because from what I heard, the new character is a lot more promiscuous.
Okay, that's what I assumed. I did see a picture of the new character, so I'm like, okay, so they had somebody kind of more seductive. Do I think it's going to stay in the top 10 next week? No, ultimately not, because I don't think it's a one-off character that people thought was cool. I don't think the story is stupid. I think the story is strong, but I think the story is more serious, even though it's supposed to be 100 Girlfriends. I think it's supposed to be more comedic in that sense to me, but that's just me. The other one I'll put on here, if you're not watching Shangri-La, go and watch it. It is worth it.
You're missing out.
It is basically what Sword Art Online wants to be. Only because, and I'm saying that in a good way, because I know people say, and I know people are going to say this, Sword Art Online is one of the best anime out there. Yes, it is, but this does it in a whole other way. When it comes to a video game style anime, doing a video game story, but also doing a real world story. And all the characters in Shangri-La make sense. And it feels like the story has a reason to progress. We have a reason for our main character to be this guy who hates trash games. He's playing this really good game now. He's having fun with this game, but he's skipped over a lot of the stuff that you normally would do, like the tutorial and all that, and just gone straight into something fun. But also he's hampered by what the rules of this, this quest was, all these things. But at the same time, the girl likes him, bought the game, is playing through it, and she's a beast. But she's all trying to find this dude. At the same time, our main character has to go through these obstacles of getting around people who are trying to just get rid of him, figure out why he's this bunny girl, all this stuff. And then you see him going out of the game at the same time in the real world. That Shangri-La in a nutshell is basically like if they did Ready Player One, but if you just followed the main character in Ready Player One and didn't do all the movie references or any of that, and just did it straight up. Here's a world where people go into a video game to escape, and this video game is really, really just interesting and fun. In this case, the real world is still interesting. They still have a reason to go in the real world because the video game store and everything else in the real world. But the video game is just immersive enough, feels like something you could just stay in for hours. At one point, he does in an episode we just saw till like 2:30 in the morning. I know probably Chris would probably think I'm crazy if I say this. I think it's one of those ones you should be watching. Definitely should be watching, just seeing what's about.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yes, I'm shaking my head. Yeah.
And then the other one I have to give an honorable mention to, and Chris said it last week, and he said it again. He probably said it again this week. Dr. Stone has stayed up here every chart we've done.
Most consistent show on the chart.
Every chart we've done, it's been in the top 10 at 8, 8, 8, and 8. It was mostly 8 till this week. It went to 7.
See,
yes. But at the same time, reason why it's up there because it's had almost 2 full seasons. This is the 3rd, and there's a fan base behind it.
Technically, Dr. Stone is on his 5th season.
Oh yeah, so this is.
I take it back. They're on the 6th season. Technically,
This is season 6, but technically it's like there's been part 1s and part 2s between there. So assumingly it's like it's been like 3. It's like 3 seasons within a part 1. So it's 6 total, but it's 3 part 1, part 2 stuff.
Yeah.
But the point I'm getting at, it's been around long enough where people have got into it. People know what it's about. And that's why I stayed there. That's why Bleach stayed up on the other chart last year, in the last season.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bleach has been around for so long.
I wish I could have seen this chart when Dragon Ball Super was debuting.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about this chart. There's some established ones in here, but there's also just ones that people are just watching and seeing the things about. I'm gonna go back and watch Journey's End once it finishes. I'm going back to Spy and the Family eventually because I like Spy and the Family. I just haven't got time to watch it because I'm watching other things. But I know Spy and the Family's gotten good. I think me and Chris are both going to say this. We need to see the last chart 12, and then the end of the year chart. See where that ends up and see where all those shows end up. Because that means that these shows are interesting and good. This has probably been one of the stronger seasons of anime in a long time. Summer was kind of rough. This fall season has been really good. Winter looks really interesting. We're getting to a point where anime is getting stronger. And here's the thing. We just talked about JDK in the last segment. The weird thing is the JJK of the world, the My Hero Academia of the world, the Attack on Titans, Chainsaw Mans, things like that have a hard time staying at the top because you have all these other ones that are sleeper hits. When you have a bunch of sleeper hits or really other good anime, they're not going to always stay in your top 5. They're not going to always have that bang like those. You can have a banger episode, but if these other episodes are doing more story stuff, more interesting things, they're going to always overtake something just a bunch of fighting. So that's going to be something I want to see. Like, where do we see Dark Gathering end up? Where do we see Undead Unlucky? Where do we see Goblin Slayer Season 2? Things like that are going to be really interesting where they end up in this chart because those are shows that are not always having great episodes here and there, but they are consistently doing something interesting with the show. And that's the ultimate thing I'm looking forward to. But let's get into the first show we're going to watch tonight. We're going to go into first JJK episode 41. It's Thunderclap Part 2. This episode was kind of crazy. Just because we're about to be close to the end of this uh current fight or one of the fights. We don't really know. Um, basically, we're back with everybody. We see Sukuna now. We saw Sukuna once. Sukuna stays around for a bit, and then the ending is interesting. The ending of this episode is very interesting. They do two things. I love the two things they do here, and they're both story related. And I have to give them credit because we haven't had a lot of story in JJK season 2 so far, outside of a few things. But these two story things made everything click. So I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Chris, you ready?
Ready.
All right, hold on 1 second. There we go. So 3, 2, 1, let's go. So JJK episode 41, Thunderclap Part 2. And they show us a flashback to start this off. And that flashback was his grandfather telling him, try to help others. When he says subjecting them, is that fighting them basically?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. So you have to keep fighting them until you just control them.
If I change the sentence around and say you were subjugating a bull, it changes the meaning. You understand it?
You're taming the bull. Okay. All
There
right.
it is.
Got it. So like taming Pokemon basically in Pokemon.
Yep.
That's how you. But nobody's ever gone through all 10, right? Technically, right?
Nobody's made it through the last one.
Last one. Okay. They've got to the 9, but never there.
Now, as I watch this animation, bro, I feel that the animators kind of knew that they were gonna stop after this.
They had a hunch. They did have a hunch. But it's still clean. The animation's still clean. It's not like it's.
Oh yeah, the animation goes hard.
But you can tell they had a. You said this prior when we first watched it, just before we did the podcast. You said that literally this is a good stopping point for the anime if they're going on strike because the way it ends. It's like okay, you can literally end this right here.
Because after a big old fight, you want to know what happens after that.
Yep. So the Ghetto Clan and the Zenin Clan didn't like each other?
No.
And when he says Ghetto Clan, he's talking about the clan that Ghetto was a part of, right?
Yeah,
okay.
his family, basically.
His family. Okay. Because it's canonically true that the Zenin Clan is the most powerful clan in JJK.
They are, but the only ones who can really
use spirit energy. Or
well,
use
no,
curse.
their only biggest competition is Megami's clan.
Megami's clan. Okay. But it's always funny because everybody hates Gojo because he's like one of the strongest sorcerers ever. Oh, she's gonna just sit there. She's not doing anything. Okay.
I think I want to go ahead and buy this manga.
This is one I would probably buy. There's
because it's depending on how long the strike goes.
You want to know what happens. I do know the manga gets even more dark. This is the darkest arc, But technically, this gets even weirder after this point, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. By the way, while you just standing there, you just see when he summons one of those 10 shadow things. I would have been running.
Because
I would have
because he
ran.
already made he couldn't run. He already made him a part of the ritual.
Oh, so I didn't know that part. I forgot he did say he did, and then he just knocks him.
That's why he said I'll be dying first.
By the way, that is interesting. Remember, we see this shot earlier in the anime. I think last episode of the episode prior. So now we see the
Right.
aftermath. Why that happened? He summoned that thing
Yep.
and knocked him out. Yep, and there's where the sorcerer. He asked for the sorcerer's help, even though he didn't have them. By the way, he has the luck stat. It's interesting to me, or the luck kind of technique.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
they call it a miracle, but
it's spacey luck. Like,
but
how is he not? At this point, nominees have punched him out. A couple of the characters have destroyed him mentally, and yet he's still kind of lucky.
but no, he ran out of luck. Schooner just saved him.
Okay, so this in this case, they are saying he's out of luck. Okay.
Yeah, like he was out of luck. Like his luck represented by those notches, those purple notches that was on his face.
Oh, okay. Now he has no notches on his face, so you tell me he's
But
not.
see, but later on, well, that's the end. But I'll say
Yeah,
that for
yeah,
the end.
yeah. I've never really got. I love Sukuna. He's like, I'll tame this thing. Like Sukuna, are you
No,
crazy?
no. Suguna said I have to destroy it so I can save it.
Save it. Yeah. Hmm. By the way, I don't remember this. We don't get a title screen for this episode, do we?
Nope.
This is the first episode that we don't get a full on intro. Okay.
No, they just went straight into it.
Which is fine. I'm cool. I thought about that. I'm like, we haven't got a full intro. This is actually
But
the
as
first.
you're watching this, remember how many hours of sleep they didn't get.
Yeah. 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 That's the other problem with this. Like, they literally didn't put an intro in, and you just all from the last thing we saw. I love how he gets knocked to a building. He comes out with popcorn and a soda. That's an interesting touch. And yet he's a spirit. Why would a spirit be eating popcorn or drinking a soda?
See, he's not a cursed spirit. He say if I was, that would actually see. We don't really know what Schooner is.
Yeah, we don't know what he is, but it's funny. Like he's something. He's like something. He's demonic because
Like he's like an entity.
he's an
We'll
entity.
say that.
Yeah, he's an entity. But it's like, why do you have a soda and a popcorn? And even says the popcorn tastes awful. I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense for him.
Like, what if you learn that Schooner is like a poltergeist?
Well, that'd be funny. That'd be interesting. And the thing about this fight, this is just two beings that are super strong, just having a brawl.
Remember what I told you, Brandon? This fight scene, is like watching Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, two people just like doing kamehameha to each other, just going nuts.
Yep.
Like no recollection for what's going on. They just want to see how strong they are.
Yep. Not caring about collateral damage.
Correct. And Suka doesn't care about collateral damage. She kind of already said that. and the spirit and the Shikigami doesn't know what's going on, so it's like for him it's just a fight.
Yep. It's funny that they call it a Shikigami because that low key connects them to the Bleach world. You know what? That would be an epic crossover.
What?
Bleach and JJK.
The power levels are so different, though. It would be interesting.
Not really. Cursed energy, Reaper energy.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay. That makes. But you know what I mean? Like the worlds they're set in. Which
Not
world?
really. Spirit, Shikigami, cursed spirits.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 Never mind. Never mind. You got me there. You got me there. By the way, did you know the music just got hype?
Yes.
We're only halfway through this fight. Like that's the one thing I didn't know. So like, wait, the music got hyped. Could you hear more of that?
Ooh.
By the way, can other people see the Shikigami? Because it's interesting when they were fighting around the people, they started screaming. But I thought you can't. I
Some
thought,
people can and some people can't.
but they know something's going on. They see the wind or feel the air move.
Right. See, see, they seeing all of that. They
Yeah, they're
feeling
seeing
all of that.
destruction. They're seeing destruction too. So destruction's there.
They're in the destruction too. Ooh.
Jeez. Man, the animation for this is just insane.
I see why they lost a hell of a lot of sleep.
Well, yeah, if you're animating a full-on fight, and it looks like a straight-up movie.
And remember, they did this in a week's time, which is half the time.
Like you shouldn't be doing this in a week. Even if it was a week and a half, like this is not a week and a half thing. This is like a 2-week thing to even get this doing it right.
He really threw the top of the whole building.
On top of that, dude. Jeez. But is that a plane in the background?
She just got caught in the misfire.
Oh
And I love
my.
how they just do this dramatic fall. Like, wow. And you remember there were people on that.
There were people on that plane, absolutely. I'm like, I didn't notice that the first time watching this. I'm like, there's a plane in the background of that. Throws a whole bridge and everything. Knocks out the power grid. What the? Oh, jeez. Malevolent Shrine.
It's malevolent kitchen.
Yeah, it's basically a kitchen, but they say kitchen. They're about to say kitchen here, but yeah. Wait. Did that thing just say it can? The effect is a guaranteed hit at almost 200 meters. But then it goes, oh, on top of that, since Megami's on the ground, the effect it has a 140-meter like max range.
For his consideration, for Megumi's consideration, he kept it at 140.
Oh wow! So he can control how far he does it. Jeez, that's why he's so strong.
And it's causing the power
Oh,
grid to go.
whoa. You're well. That Shigami. That Shigami's dead now. Just say goodbye at this point.
Nah, but they said that Shikigami was almost done regenerating.
It was, but not anymore. He just drew a giant fireball.
So on top of that thing being in this domain expansion, it threw the same lightning bolt it threw at the fire dude.
Yep.
And see, this is all that part that they whited out last time.
Yes, they did. And it immediately switches to Ichidora's body. But they also say there's a timing thing with this. I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Switch.
Nope. So when he fought Nominee, he lost the ability for luck.
Yeah, like he exhausted his luck.
He's like, luck. Fushiguro. I saw Itadori for a moment. Do you remember the thing I sent you on? Was it on Facebook? Was it on text or Twitter?
I
I don't
think it was
remember.
Instagram.
Yeah, of this dude, the actor, actually sitting on the floor, doing the lines and scratching the ground for this part. It was
Ooh.
it was amazing. I was like, you didn't have to do that, but it works.
So, in this, when you look at it this way, Itadori is the cursed person.
Correct.
Like, Brandon, have you ever watched the show Supernatural?
I watched a few episodes of it. Never like
What?
fully got into it, but yes.
So, well, in there's one scene or one season where one of our main characters is possessed, right? I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm,
say by what or by whom,
mm-hmm.
but he's possessed. But the amount of torture that he was getting mentally was worse than any other torture that anybody could get physically.
Correct.
So that's Itadori right now.
By the way, he's scratching the ground. He says, "I'd rather die, no one else." As he's saying this, as the character, the music kicks in for the opening sting, and all they do here is just show you the destruction. They go around, show you the destruction, see what's happening, show you the girl that gets her head caught locked off earlier in a couple episodes ago, and it's just no more talking, just everything going on, everything that's happened to this point.
But he gets back up though.
I
He
have to
gets his
go.
ish together.
I have to fight. Otherwise, I'll just be
Murderer.
yeah. And that doesn't stop here. We see the ending title screen. We see somebody walking. We see it from their perspective.
Then the camera flips back.
The man is back. Nominee is about to do some stuff. He's burned on one side. He's missing an eye.
And then they show the ending credits. Like,
Yes.
oh,
I will say this. This episode, the fight scene is beautiful. Well done. The way we start this episode off is really interesting. But at the same time, the ending's really interesting. So I'm going to go through, we'll do the middle, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Because I won't go, the fight takes up most of this, and there's not much in the fight that's really necessary for a lot of things. So the beginning of this episode starts us off with Sukuna talking to his, I don't know, disciple. We don't know much about. We know of her. We've seen her before. We don't know what she is to Sukuna. She's like, I'm freed, but stay and wait for my instruction. So she doesn't move. Then they show us something. So each of Megami is talking about the 10 shadows, all the 10 shadow things he has to do, getting the 10 shadows, taming them, getting them stronger, beating them, taming them, all that kind of stuff. He calls this one he hasn't tamed yet. By the way, we don't see him call. This is the first time we see him call it. It's this like arm-looking dude, like this spirit that also has like chains and like a wheel halo on his head. And the guy the spirit that has luck is standing there like, oh, I need to go. I need to leave. I need to just leave. He's getting freaked out because he sees the Shigami about to go after him. Shigami knocks out Megami. By the way, when they knock out Megami, we see Megami already knocked out. We also see this part. And the guy's like, the spirit's like, stupid sorcerer, wake up. We hear him say that in a previous episode. So they're tying those two things back together. This is the first time we've seen Megami call for the Shikigami. This is the first time we see him get knocked out by it. That's why he's still sitting there. And that's also why we see the spirit dude that has luck stay in, try to run away. He wants Megami's help. Then Sukuna enters the picture. Sukuna saves the dude from getting beat by the Shigami, and then they just do an epic fight. Sukuna against the Shigami. By the way, Chris put it like this. It's like when Dragon Ball Z just does a bunch of Kamehamehas and just throws stuff at you. That's what they did here, but with two very strong characters. And this fight goes on. They're going through places, all over places, around places, everything. Basically, this changes this fight because Sukuna wants to beat this thing so Megami doesn't die or get any more hurt. So at the same time, also Sukuna's real plan is just to get stronger. So they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They end up going to people. They end up doing this, that, and the other. And then the thing tells you, Sukuna's like, I'm gonna use my domain expansion. I've already knocked you out. You're gonna take time to regenerate. Domain expansion. He calls for domain expansion. Then he calls his fire technique, whatever you want to call it, the thing he took on against the volcano dude, which he fully names here. They also talk about he has an ability where he can use chopping or slicing in a way like you're working in the kitchen. And it's interesting because the way the chopping and slicing works, you can just slice parts of the body and it breaks up the body. We saw this once with the girls in the train station with the volcano dude. We'll see it later in this episode. So he does that a couple times. The thing, King still gets back up. He's finally like, you know what? I've done my domain expansion. I've done the slice thing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to call a little fire arrow at this thing. By the way, this fire arrow can go almost 200 meters in range and destroys everything within that range. But when next to Megami, I'm only do about 140 meters. So I don't destroy Megami. I need him alive. So he does it and literally knocks out the power to the city, destroys buildings, messes up the city like no other. And then, so he gets off that battle. They beat the Shigami. The Shigami's little headdress melts. For a second, we see Ichidori's face, but then it goes back to Sukuna's face. And then Sukuna walks towards the spear that has luck. He says, "What are you looking at? Get out of here." And the guy's like, "I'm still lucky. I'm still good. I'm still great. I'm not hurt. I can get out of here. I can live." As he's saying that, you just see a cut across the face. And not like across sideways, it was like up and down. So like where you're like the sideways on the side of your face. And he's just cut in half. Sukuna, within the battle with Namine, he used up all his luck. So now he's dead officially. On top of that, Sukuna tells Ichidori, remember these memories. Remember what I did. So Ichidori comes back. Ichidori remembers everything that's happened. He sees everything. He's seen everything that's happened. What Ichidori does? He gets on the ground. First throws up, which is kind of interesting. He gets on the ground and takes his hands and claws the ground with his fingers, his palm, and makes him bleed. And then the music starts playing for the opening sting, and then they show you destructions happened throughout this episode, the past couple episodes. All the buildings being knocked down, everything being destroyed. And you know the funny part? it wasn't even like it. It wasn't even like you had to show us, but you showed us because you want to see how much Tuchel has done, how much power this man has. And then after they kind of show us everything, song is still playing. Ichidori first called and said, when he first called, he said, "I will not die. I can't die." When we come back to him after they show us all the destruction, he says, "I, I, I'm gonna keep up. I'm gonna get up. I still need to fight. I can't be." And then they show us tile screen, like the beginning tile screen, and says, "A murderer." And then the show cuts. We see a train station. Somebody walking through a train station from the person's point of view. That person, flip the camera around. You see the cleaver in their left hand that has spots on it. You see like the chiseled body, but then they show you the face. Half the body is normal, half the body is burned. Nominee is back, and he's about to go ham. Chris, what did you think about this episode? Because this episode did two things for me very easily. One, you gave us an amazing fight. Two, you gave us so much story to the point where you haven't gave us this much story in a long time. And three, if they do go on hiatus, you left us with a cliffhanger for two characters. What's Nominee's next move, and what's Ichidori do next?
I mean, bro, we're okay. First of all, man, the epic fight scene. Let's start there. Holy snacks! This is what happens when Skuna cuts loose, and he's not even at 100% yet.
No, he only has 15 fingers so far
Out
out
of
of the
20.
20. There's still 5 fingers somewhere in the world. So yeah,
So, so then, but he's holding his own against the Shikigami, and I mean they are going in. So okay. Now, the things that they revealed about this story, the fact that Megami is able to summon that thing is one thing. Because remember that thing, I guess it can't necessarily die.
correct.
So the fact that Megami can summon that thing, Skuna gave him props for that, which is also probably why he kept them alive.
Correct.
So that's pretty much the whole fight. Now, Itadori is his mental is I mean, he has some truly mental fortitude, man, because he he basically said basically just watched everything, and Scoot Sukuna did it, and then left him, and then let him take control of his own body again after the carnage, and left him staring at a gaping hole in the city. Like,
Yep.
bro, he started scratching. You know how hard and how much force you have to inflict on yourself to scratch the skin off of your hands like that
And
on bare concrete.
and
Oh,
to make him bleed, like he made him bleed, and you wouldn't normally do that out of any other reason outside of like sheer sadness. Like he was sheerly sad for what happened, but also angry.
yeah. So and he admittedly he wanted to kill himself, or he wanted to die.
Yep.
He felt like he deserved death.
Yep. But
But that's when he decides, man, I gotta keep fighting because if I don't fight, I'm just a murderer. Oh man.
and then and then like when they show us Nominee, we all thought Nominee was dead. And the funny part was we didn't see a body. So then when he just walks in this scene at the end, what was your first thought?
I'm wondering, is he dead? Is he like half alive, half dead? Like, what's really going on here?
The burns are
Like,
from the burns are from the volcano dude. We do know that the volcano dude was there. He burned them. He didn't burn them
right.
all, but he burned them. At the same time, does Nominee know how to do reverse technique where he can heal himself?
Good question.
We don't know. Gojo knows how to do it. Ghetto, not Ghetto. Itadori doesn't know how to do it. Nobody else knows really how to do it. Did he learn it somehow?
Or was it by sheer will?
Correct.
Mm.
I have to give him so much credit. The one thing we've talked about with JJK, you can give us all these fights all day. You can give us fights every episode, which you're still trying to do. But we need a story. And you gave us two story things out of this. Ichidori feeling grief for what just happened when Sukuna took over. At the same time, he knows he has to fight again. He has to keep fighting to keep everything going. On top of it all, the other thing you did is you gave a reason for Nominee to be back in the picture. If it's reverse technique, the volcano didn't burn him fully, which we do see on the body, or is it something like, hey, he wasn't burned fully. He wasn't. He didn't use reverse technique, but he has the will. He has a will to live, and he wants to finish what he started. I'm cool with that. However you want to spin it, I'm fine. But that's the thing we've been asking for JJK for a long time. Do you think that's good storytelling there, Chris?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't exactly say it's good storytelling because I mean, you did spend like 20 minutes of the show on a fight scene, even though it was a very epic fight scene.
Yeah.
But the things that you did give us does give me something to look forward to.
Okay. 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 Um, I'll say this. Like, I I would say go out of your way because it's on Twitter. I think it's on Twitter. And I gave it to Chris on Instagram. Go out of your way to find the actor, the Japanese actor that did Ichidori scene where he's scratching and clawing the ground. He does that in the recording booth, and he has the paper in front of him reading it, and he's literally doing the whole clawing this like tile floor, and he's crying. He's playing. The only time I remember somebody doing that is for a game that I don't know if Chris has played, but I have played, BioShock. BioShock Infinite to be exact. They did some promotional material for BioShock, which is not really used. I don't think they did promotion material, but also there's a scene in the game they do it where the main character Elizabeth, the lady who played her, she wanted to be like the character, so she literally cried. She said, "Make me cry, make me tear up," and they did, and she does this scene crying, and it works for what the character's supposed to be about. I know they call that method acting, but when you do it legitimately and have fun with, and you're doing it to make the character seem more real, it makes that story seem more real too. And that's insane to me that somebody would do that to make this character more real. I give them all the credit in the world. But if this is a little bit of a hiatus for JTK, they went out on a bang. You left us with a good fight. You left us with some cliffhangers. I'm fine with that. So, Chris, I needed something from you. What would you rate JJK episode 41, Thunderclap
I
Part
would
2?
I would love to give this episode a 9.7.
Okay. Explain.
This was good, bro. They gave us everything we asked for. A backstory, good. Like, give a story why you fight. Like, and this was the first time we actually seen Skuna go ham. So it was a good episode.
Okay. Before I get my rating, I'm going to say this. Get up JJK, or get up Dead Mount Death Play episode 19. We'll get into that in a second. This is hard. This is hard. This this episode gets a 9. And only reason I think it gets a 9, and it's only 1 point I'm taking off for this. You did a good fight. You gave us some backstory. You showed us what happened with Megami and all that. I think now you just need to really just give us a lot of story stuff now. You gave us so many fights to the point where a lot of fights make sense. Some fights didn't have any really plot reasons behind them, just fights for what the story needs it for. This fight had a plot reason behind it. But also you had some story stuff behind it. The next episode we see, whenever that will be, I need to see what Itadori does next. I want to see what Namini does next. I want to see what maybe we know maybe he's gonna have to fight with Geto. We also know we're guaranteed a fight with Panda and them once, at least one. Are we getting back the girl that can only use cursed weapons eventually? Like, is she gonna come back into play now? Because she got knocked down that same thing with Namini. There's a couple questions there, and I think those questions are gonna have to be answered eventually. Like I say, take your time, don't rush it. I'm not needing it next week. You left us in a good place. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Because we talk about with Dead Out Death Play, they do a good job of story. Not so much in the fighting. This episode was crazy with story stuff. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
JJK does good with fighting, but the story stuff is lacking. And I think leaving us with a story thing where Itadori has to come back and fight. Namini is like, I need to fight myself. Why are they fighting? We know why Itadori is fighting, because he said, if I don't fight, I'm considered a murderer. Why has Namini come back in this fight? What is the purpose for Namini to be back in this fight? What happened the last time we saw him? That's going to be something that needs to be answered.
That's what we're still trying to figure out.
That's what we're trying to figure out. And like I say, I'm not needing those answers right away. Take all the time in the world. I do not care. But you left this episode in a cliffhanger, which I think most people will be okay with. Because you left us in a place where, oh, what's happened to these characters? What's next? And now Sukuna's fully gone for a bit. I don't think we see Sukuna again this season, by the way. I think Sukuna's done for this season completely.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's no point for him back in this story unless he's going to fight Geto straight up as Sukuna. Nah.
He's not.
That ain't happening. That's Itadori for that.
Yeah, he's not going to fight Geto, nor is he going to fight
Megami.
Gojo.
Yeah,
or Gojo.
Or Gojo at all. So that we're not seeing those fights yet. Those are down the road fights. But yeah, like I say, it isn't. You said 9.7. I said 9. That's a pretty good episode for JDK. JDK episodes are pretty high anyway. Like we said when we started this podcast, if we don't see another episode, we're gonna start Attack on Titan. If we see another episode, cool. I'd rather not see another episode for a couple weeks.
Because I would at least known that my guys got some sleep.
Correct. People got rest. Because even Chris mentioned it throughout this episode. Some of the animation they do here for certain things here in this episode were over the top. And I literally mentioned when we talked about it. Wait, we didn't get an opening cutscene, did we? We didn't get an opening cinematic. The opening stand. No, we did not. Interesting. This show just kicks off with what we see from prior. So we literally got almost 22 minutes or so of just straight show. That's hard to do. But let's get into Dead Mount Death Play episode 19. Ladies and gentlemen, Dead Mount Death Play has been on another roll as of late. They've been on a roll since episode like 16 or something. This episode just ties in so much together. To the point where they're tying in episodes from previous in the season and making things make sense. We'll get into all that. But I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get into it. Chris, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. We leave off with Lisa, who is Clarice, and one of her people she works with, on the roof, looking at the Majesty. Oh, hold on, my thing just skipped ahead. Why did it do that? Did you hear me?
Yeah, I paused.
Yeah, my skipped ahead. I need to back out for a second. I forgot. I was weird.
And we can just start it over when you get back.
Okay. I don't know why. You've had that happen. You had that happen a couple times. This is the first time I've had it happen because I think I scrolled through some stuff the other night. We were looking at it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it does that, but oh well.
Yeah. Oh well. Right, I'm gonna check something first before I do this. So, okay. All right. I know what I need to do. Got it. Sorry for this. I need to close this out and reopen it. I'm just gonna restart the. I'm gonna let the episode finish and then I'll have to rewatch it real quick. But here's the thing I will say. I never really got the fact why. And I don't know if you felt this too. Like, I never really got the fact why you need like so much animation to show a fight. Because like older times when they did Dragon Ball Z or older shows like that, the fight scenes were really animated, but they were simple. It seems like fight scenes have gotten harder to animate and more complex. Is that a good assumption?
I feel like anime is evolving as a culture, so in an effort to reach more of an audience, they've begun to expand expand what they show and how they show it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because like they show things that are truly different from what you see on regular TV. Like if
Okay.
you ask me, I feel that American TV shows are just starting to get to the point to where anime is.
Hmm.
However, I would love to see Americans take on like I would like to see American production of an anime like One Piece, but actually put into a like Universal Studios type budget. You know what I'm saying? At Universal Studios, but like just give the Japanese director and say him right on like I'm saying I wish they would do it just like One Piece. They need to do a lot of shows just like that.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm back at 0-0. I'll let that roll through. Sorry for that. That's the first time it's happened to me. It's happened to Chris before a couple times. Um,
Yep. I'm at zeros. Ready?
all right. Yep. So 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So episode 19, The Friends. I love how they say The Friends. Interesting enough, that kind of implies a couple different things, but we can see that as this rolls through. And we see them staring at the Majesty. And we see the other group walking away from something. Oh yeah, she said you had 3 minutes and they're already up. Strange present. How? What were we all staring up at? We didn't even see.
You want to skip?
No.
Okay.
Let it roll through. By the way, it's kind of funny. The two girls were holding umbrellas. The commissioner's daughter wasn't. She was just walking in the rain. I'm like, okay, it's kind of interesting.
I guess if you're just comfortable like that, or like, okay.
All right, that's fair enough. they're teasing that fight. They're teasing that fight again.
Yep.
So we're gonna see them again. That's the weird part. They're teasing some things. We've seen part of this. We haven't seen all of it.
And they're teasing him using his arm too.
Yes, they are. I love this quick cut thing because we've seen all these scenes have a couple. Like it's kind of interesting about that. It's not only your problem. He's surprised he said that. I'm like, well, no, they want to help you. Man, that scene of him just being strung up. And you ignored our warnings, 100 It's not your turn to yield. It's your turn to yield. I love how she turns around and just waves at them. Like she's like,
I like how
"Well,
they just just casually throw. Oh, this is how I learned your language through you.
yep,
Like, oh, okay.
yep,
Quick, quick plot hole filler.
yep." He walks the other way. She walks forward. Who is he? My friend from another world. This scene is just creepy.
So they take on the dirty work.
Well, he's the Majesty. He can do whatever he wants.
But it's like,
Jeez, you just made me.
imagine what that means for the world that Pokey lives in, though. If Pokey lives in the dirty world, but yet they take care of the dirty work.
Because they know he's a good dude. He shouldn't have been killed the way he should have. The way it
But
happened.
he's already been killing those. So,
Well, you know what I mean. Like, I think what I'm trying to say, like, the way he died shouldn't have happened. And they feel like ultimately we'll do whatever it takes to make sure you don't have to get your hands dirty, even though you're called the corpse god. Like,
well, I
it's
think they protect him from killing out of anger, or not necessarily anger, but killing out of certain emotions, basically.
yeah, like out of not out of malice or out of hate, but he doesn't. If you have to kill, you're going to kill out of duty.
Yeah, out of protecting your friends.
Correct. I love this scene because this dude doesn't. He thought he got away, and yet you would have been gone. I would have been gone a long time ago. I would have got on a bus. I
Yeah.
would have got to the nearest airport.
See, and they should. I'm gonna buy me one of those lasers.
Would that actually burn you?
Yes,
Okay, it would. It would.
those things can start a match.
Okay, that's what I thought. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Oh, so she knows about the tech. Okay, this girl's
Mm.
not. Wow. All right, she's not
And
as
then she
crazy.
knew he was hiding a secret. See, he thought he was the. He thought he was a secret. Everybody, but everybody already knew.
That's the thing about this. He figures out now that every
Everybody's on his side.
everybody's on his side, and yet it's funny because he thought everybody didn't like him. Why?
Well,
Why
no,
would?
he thought that he couldn't trust anybody
And yet
outside
everybody
of the
trust,
old man.
and but everybody trusted him. Talk to me, gone. I love it. I love an argument. I love them. I can't reach him without tipping from police insiders. Who could it be? Oh, she's talking to him. Why would she have a direct line to the police?
Because she was trying to remove the man she loved from the situation.
Mm. So basically, like he says here, he doesn't want anything to get corrupted, and yet
Until
that's
until they
hard to
mature.
that's hard to do because cops get
Well,
quickly.
see, think about it this way. When you look at the culture of Japan, it's not that drugs run rampant, right?
Nope.
But they control the police control where you do it at.
Correct.
So there's no better way than to do that. Say, hey, you already the big and bad here, but if you so we want you to keep it localized here in this section. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
You don't hurt nobody, and as long as they pay, you give them what they want, and we cool. That's kind of from some of the things I've seen. That's kind of the culture there.
Hmm. So basically, they didn't want her to go into the family business, even though the family business was kind of dirty.
Shady. Yep. Dirty, shady. Yep.
But here's the weird thing. Yet she still had. But it's funny. The thing about it, she's like, Hogorogi was the one thing that kept me grounded. And yet the real world was, yet everything else I did was only because I did it for family. Who was he? I love that. Okay, that doctor is creepy. like a like a Silent Hill movie.
I mean, but that's the best that she can do.
Yeah, I'll go with comparison for no. So he can't heal them fully. He would have to kill them first.
But he said he would have to temporarily make part of his body a corpse.
Corpse. So is that why the vampire girl the way she is? She's a corpse technically. She part of her body's a corpse, and that's why she turned into a vampire.
Yeah, because remember she was a zombie first.
Zombie first. Okay. So basically, just telling the same thing. I love how his lies light up. Like, how do you know I worked with the senior commissioner?
Yeah, but then he still tries to play it off though.
Yes, he does. So Solitaire's like, perhaps, yeah, no. Yeah,
He had a contingency plan.
yeah, he did. Whoa. My pride's on prison. I love that line. Like, I'm not. I don't care. I'm gonna go every route I can. I don't care about pride. Common hoodlums. Do you know what you're getting into, my friend?
See,
You say common hoodlums. Yeah, no. You have a guy under your payroll who's lemmings.
that's about it.
Also, you're looking at a buff chick. He's like, how?
Thinking that it just happened last night, or that or technically like
A couple hours, like the day prior or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, like within the last 12 hours.
Yeah, which is interesting to me because I think he's shocked that he knows that, but the lordship has eyes and ears all over the place. Yeah, this man doesn't. He knows what's going on. Like he's not just sitting there. Yep. They got behind you. When did he get up here? Oh, that's so cute. The little eyeballs could barely hold the phone up.
I like this little fight though.
This little fight's fun, but it proves something. It proves something to the bodyguard. This man has power and a lot of it.
You saw him open up a dimension and something and a creature you've never seen come out. Come on.
Two fang tigers came out. Wait, Pokey called the lordship about the
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that part.
Because Pokey is loyal. He's loyal to his friends.
So the lordship helping get Pokey to a peaceful life. Oh, right. Okay. Enough.
After a
This,
ferocious fight, they just start licking you like that, and you sit there and you're like, nah, bro.
yeah, nah. You know what he looks like, and it's weird to say this. Winter Soldier
You know?
has that special like arm. He has two special arms on both sides of his body. It's just one.
That's a better something better than what I was saying. What I was gonna say.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say he looks like Inspector Gadget.
That's the other one I could see, but he kind of gives me that Inspector Gadget, but more normal, like more like he's more of that they built him instead of like they built him instead of like Inspector Gadget earning like gaining all this stuff.
Or maybe it's more a little bit more like Cyberpunk.
Yeah, Cyberpunk. Yeah, underwing. It's a who lightning wants to the world.
It's like, yeah.
Base, you just gave him this arm of a dragon that can shoot lightning. All right, hmm.
Take it away, Brandon.
All right, where are we gonna start with this? We're gonna go through it. We're gonna go straight through it. We're gonna go through it all. Um, this episode starts off with us cutting back to seeing the Imperial Majesty, Lisa, one of her bodyguards, and Pokey. They're all talking up there. The Imperial Majesty and Pokey are kind of talking, saying, I'm one of your good friends. You could have came to me. You don't have to do this by yourself. You don't have to attack. You don't have to go use your power for anger. By the way, I learned how to speak through you in this world, which is a good touch. Because how is he speaking perfectly? How is he speaking perfect English or perfect Japanese in this case? He said he learned it from Pokey. So cool that the pothole kind of closed off. Then they cut back. Then the Majesty turned around, waves at Pokey, not Pokey, waves at Lisa and her bodyguard. We see the three people walking back to where they came from, talking about what happened. And the girl's like, I had 3 minutes. Your 3 minutes was up. It was time to go. You didn't do what you needed to do in 3 minutes. So we're gonna fight to see another day. Title screen starts. We go from the title screen. We go back to Pokey and them, and Pokey and they're having a small little conversation. They walk in opposite directions. The magistrate walks towards the spirit of the senior commissioner, and then the Pokey walks back to the Lisa and her bodyguard. Then this scene where the Imperial Majesty goes, you know what? I can help you out here. I'm going to literally take a bunch of gears and destroy this man's soul. Something out of Mortal Kombat levels of I'm going to do a straight up fatality to your soul. And it flashes back to Pokey when he first met the Imperial Majesty. He's like, we don't want you to have to do all this stuff. You're not going to be a saint or anything. We'll handle the situations that need handling from us to make sure you don't have to do them. And Chris brought this up. Chris asked, why would they do that? What's the purpose? But I thought this interesting. Reason why? They know Pokey died for the wrong reasons. But also, like Chris said, they don't want Pokey using his emotions to hurt some people. Not anger, not of spite, not of hatred. When you have to do it for a certain reason. Just not just do it out of anything. Then we see Lisa and then walk back in the building. We see the magistrate leave off. She goes in another direction. Then we cut to the cops. All the cops come together. The blonde-haired cop says, "I need, thank y'all for coming. We need to figure this out. I'm sorry to get y'all in this mess." The black-haired cop's like, No. This is not just your mess. This is all our mess. We're here for you. By the way, Pops, which is the gray-haired looking cop, says, after we get this started, you need to go lay low for a while. Blonde-haired cop not laying low anytime soon. So we know he's not laying low. If he does lay low, it's going to be very quick. But then he's like, I need to figure out what we need to do. We need to figure out what's our next plan. Basically just saying, hey, we're going to search high and low to see what's going on, no matter what that means. So then they pull up a letter, which we've seen this letter once before. And it's not a letter, it's a note. And this note is from episode 13 or 14. It's early in the season. This note basically is from his former partner, Hodorogi, basically saying, one, the body that was in that one room is not there anymore. The code for this other room has where's the body's at now, and don't trust the cops. I'm paraphrasing. That's basically the first letter, the first thing inside. That ties into something he's seen the letter prior. So we know this already. This was actually all so good because they tie in a lot of things. And it also talks about the tying in the keyword. I think Sabarado is how they brainwash people. Um, so then after that, we see Pokey and Carice talking, and the pen asks Pokey to talk to Carice, and Carice asks, "What's going on? What's wrong?" Um, so how do you know Hodorogi? And she's like, well, I wasn't supposed to be doing this for a family business for in the family business. I was supposed to be a good kid, nice and proper, all that kind of stuff. But my grandfather dragged me into the family business, and I've taken it over ever since. Here's the thing: Hodorogi kept me grounded. If I could say something now to him, I would say, "Goodbye, my lover." Literally, the next thing happens, they cut to the blonde haired cop saying, "It's good to see you again, friend. Good to have you back, old friend." And he's laughing. So he's happy to have his partner back, even though he hasn't seen his partner, he heard his voice. Carice hasn't talked to Hodorogi in the actual spirit sense, but she said would say goodbye to him. This this part here makes it feel like they gave closure to two characters in the best way possible. But then they show the pen. The pen the pen can't move or anything, but it's just in his pocket. But he just feels like, oh, that's so sweet. Like he feels emotion, but he's a pen. It's great. So then we click on, and this gets even weirder. We cut to Solitaire talking to the dude we saw earlier with the snake guy, but he left that whole scene and tried to get away. But the reason why he left that whole scene, he was trying to get on the bus and get away. But guess who caught him? The fire breathing clan. Firestarter. They caught him. Solitaire's talking to him. Solitaire's like, "You've killed people. You've done bad things. But you know where to find these people, right?" And the guy's like, "I'm an innocent dude. Why would you think I did something? I have nothing to do. I had nothing to do with this." And he's like, "Wait, but if you did, I still know where I can find some things. I'm gonna still go my plan." Solitaire plays off like something he doesn't believe him, but he does. He plays off like he believes him, but he doesn't believe him. He knows something's up. So Solitaire is very smart about that. On top of this scene, right before this scene, we also get Carice calling the tech dude and telling tech dude, "Come back to the bar, get your leg fixed up, because I need you at 100%. No ifs and or buts. Come back to the bar." Carice cares about her people. She cares about the tech dude, even though the tech dude doesn't like her. The tech dude's kind of scared of her. That comes back into play later. Then we keep going. They're at the bar. Pokey goes talk to the tech dude, tells tech dude, "I'm so sorry for everything that's happened. I would heal you, but if I heal you, you have to become a corpse for part of your body with a corpse." And he's like, "No, I'll stick with normal medicine for now. But if it ever comes down to I get fatally injured, turn me into a corpse." Honestly, I think that will happen eventually because that's like foreshadowing that. I think that's a foreshadowing. Um, then we kind of just get back into the talk with Solitaire, the guy, and Firestarter. Nothing really comes out of it outside of the fact that Solitaire figures out he has a new plan. This plan is basically using the kid as a way to get some more information. The kid asks him about his pride. He says, "I have no pride, so don't even worry about that. But I'm still going to do my thing." This is the part that this gets even more interesting. This is the second thing that ties in them back another episode. Basically, the father and the two bodyguards are talking about the data broker is wounded, his bodyguard was lost, and other girl was there in a hostile situation. Within that hostile situation, the bodyguard goes, "Hey, what happened?" But he doesn't like the bodyguard. The bodyguard of this dad, he doesn't like the bodyguard at all. He thinks that the bodyguard is not holding his duty to what he does. Interesting enough, he does, but through this situation, we find out the bodyguard of the father says, "Hey, my money's been taken out of my account, and it was taken out, all of it out to this account, We see a note saying that. A note basically says that over 387,280,000,000 in million yen was taken out, or 387,287,000,000 yen was taken out of this account, given to the bodyguard of the shark girl, and they're wondering how that happened. They don't know. We didn't get that. We didn't get a reason why. But then we see that, and we also see the letter from the big sister saying, the big sister's like, don't let them bother you. I I know you do good work. I love you with all my heart. But you know what I did for you? The big dude, not the dad, but the bodyguard of of the dad. I took all that money out of his account, put it into yours. So keep doing what you're doing. That ties back into the letter we've seen. We've seen this letter before, a couple episodes ago. This letter ties back in the thing we saw earlier with the money coming out of the account. That's a great tie-in. So this whole next session is basically, so the bodyguard's talking to the lordship. The lordship says, "Hey, I know what everything has happened. Pokey told I know what happened about the fight and all that stuff, and he already kind of figured out things. We don't know he's talked to Pokey, but here's a guy that can help you with your arm and your leg. The man behind you, Pokey. Bodyguard doesn't trust Pokey. Pokey says, I knew you were sitting on the table. I felt your soul. I also knew that you weren't human. By the way, at the same time, I can help you, but we're gonna have a little fight." And the guy's like, "Huh? A fight? What?" And the guy's like, "I'm gonna fight, but I'm not gonna lose in front of my lordship." So then Pokey summons these two giant tigers slash two-headed tiger monster thing, and it starts having a fight with the bodyguard. Bodyguard kind of keeps his own, but Pokey's like, "You kept your own. You did well. This fight's over." Things lick him, and it's funny. The bodyguard and Pokey, the lordship and the Pokey are talking, and lordship tells Pokey, "Tell all your secrets to him. Tell everything you need to tell him." By the way, Pokey told me everything, and like Chris said, Pokey is loyal to me. Why aren't you? So that kind of brings that out too. So then we see the bodyguard taking a shower. He takes a shower and basically cleans up. And Pokey says, "I can help you. Do you want it?" And he's like, "Yeah, but how would you help me?" Literally morphs one of his arms to like this dragon scale arm. Pokey mentions that this is from an animal from his world that can produce lightning towards the world. This arm looks amazing. Looks really well detailed. And I'm the fourth grade sorcerer. I'm the fourth highest ranking sorcerer of this court. Will you be my ally? And we don't hear the answer of yes or no, but we assume yes. And then the episode ends with that reveal, and it is amazing with the arm and everything. Chris, what do you think about this episode?
Where to begin? Where to begin? All right, I'm gonna break it down like this. Okay, so they were kind of in the beginning. They were kind of resolving everything that had to happen with the other characters coming to the other world, the other guy exposing the other world, and then his soul being crushed. And then you learn that Polka has friends who's willing to quote unquote do his dirty work in the world, which is kind of which was already interesting take as our listeners heard before. So then, as we get further along in the story, the one of the things that stuck out to me was the fact that Polka told the granddad everything, which means Polka already knew from the start that he wasn't all, yeah, I knew about him. I knew you was keeping secrets, but I didn't want to say anything, so I just kept it cool the whole time.
Here's the
Come on, man, you gotta let me finish. Hold up.
yeah. Go ahead.
So So Poker was putting all that into perspective for him, and then finally when you get to this fight, Poker puts him, it's like it's a challenge for him. But at the same time, this is when he's like low key just kind of seeing what's gonna be a good fit for him. And then it's like as soon as he told the Tigers that he was fighting to calm down, they like all friendly with him. So it's like so the kid was never really in any real danger.
Nope.
Okay, so and then at the end of all of that, gives him a freaking dragon arm. Like, hey, he's talking, explaining how I didn't trust you and everything, but this is me giving you a shot. And yeah, and then you bust out and give me a dragon arm. And yeah, bro, the way so I would have been like him too, like, yeah, bro, you got some other explaining to do. Like, what exactly you know what I'm saying? Like, what exactly is your power? So, okay. Now go. I'm done.
The only thing I'm going to bring up, and it's funny you mentioned it right off the bat, that Pokey knew everything about the bodyguard, and the fact the bodyguard didn't trust Pokey. Yet the other scene I didn't mention because it's a quick scene and it doesn't really have a lot to bearing with the plot is when the bodyguard talks to the girl he's protecting, the shark girl. The shark girl even says, She fixes his arm, and then she goes, "Hey, thank you for always protecting me. You do a great job. I love you like no other. Like, thank you." And that's the first indication where the shark girl pretty much says, "Hey, you've done so much for me. Stop. Like, don't worry about me."
Right.
Um, it it tells you a really it gives you that through line of like the bodyguard is getting a redemption story through this episode, and this is so much fun. Um, this story is so well done. I can't say enough about it. Like they can tie so much together, so many interesting things together. Outside of what you talked about with the bodyguard, Chris, and the fight, what's your other biggest takeaway from this episode?
So the other thing that I would take away from this episode is just the fact that like the funny thing is that they kind of reveal who Lisa is, Clarice. She's like they kind of give her background story a little bit, not totally in depth, but it's like okay, she comes from a family who's kind of dealt with being on the shady side of society, doing the dirty work, but being behind the scenes.
Yeah,
But and then the fact that she had a chance to get out with the cop, it was like okay, but at the same time, we've seen in plenty of other movies where the quote unquote the person that's the only life that person knows, so that's why they choose to stay in it.
correct.
So so
I I will have to say this. Lisa's my favorite character. Carice. They do a good job with her story. It is very short, but I feel like I care more about her, and she cares about her people. That's the other thing you can see throughout this. People caring about their people. The magistrate cares about Pokey. Carice cares about the tech dude. Pokey cares about tech dude. Pokey cares about the bodyguard. The the grandfather cares about the bodyguard. It it ties in a lot of that group together now. And like we said prior, the pen ties everything together. And the pen is the one thing that the linchpin, no pun intended, no pun intended, of this story. This is why I love good storytelling because this storytelling is just fun. So we're gonna do this, Chris. Before I do this, the next episode is called "The Visitors," episode 20. That's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be very interesting because that's either talking about Pokey's friends or somebody else entirely. Probably Pokey's
oh
friends.
man.
We're going down some rabbit holes. Um, so Chris, what would you give Dead Mount Death Play episode 19? 18.
I am happy to give this episode a 9.4.
Ooh, explain.
Okay, so this episode is ramping up. You can tell they're getting ready to come to the conclusion of the season, and they're tying up a lot of loose ends and bringing it around to make a conclusion. Now, I really do think they're going to gear up to make another twist because that's what this show I think is really going to do for us is give us that twist that like you know that makes us rethink everything that's happened so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they gave us just a little bit of action. It wasn't a lot, but it's like they didn't have a really big budget for it. But I still liked it. So I give this episode a 9.4.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna sound crazy, and I've done this a couple times this season. This episode gets a 10. And I know that might sound crazy to people coming from me. Reason why? You literally did 3 things I enjoy, and you did it in ways I appreciate. You gave the bodyguard his backstory, and you gave the bodyguard a redemption story through this episode. From everything that's gone on from episode like 15, that's loose. That's tying everything from this point on, from the beginning till now. You tie back in the money aspect of the fact that the bodyguard from the father goes, "Where's all that money out of my account?" Is gone. It got moved. Here's where it got moved to. Here's the letter that shows that. You gave us the letter from the blonde haired, the letter that the blonde haired dude got from his former, from Hodoroki as the pen, talking about that body. You give us Carice's backstory, not a lot of it, but enough to get me intrigued. You gave Solitaire a moment to be in the sun because that whole scene with him and the dude that tries to leave town and gets caught by a Firestarter, gives us clarity like gives him wheels for stuff Solitaire wants to do later. And on top of it all, you gave us a little bit of a fight. You also teased another fight. I think what's going to happen now, and we talked about this before we came on stream. We talked this a couple days ago. I think they're going to not end game levels of fight. We're going to like Winter Soldier levels of fight. You're going to have all the good guys in one section and all the evil people in the other, and we're going to have just a drag out brawl to the end. But I think it's going to tease something, and I think the big tease for season 3 that Corpse God is stronger than he seems, and the other big tease, I think the police find out what's really going on. They now have to figure out how to handle it and handle it well. Because the police are the most.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I said that because the police are the ones that have the most information out of everybody. And yet,
I was gonna say they're gonna be the ones to let the public know. Nah, y'all need to leave these people alone.
correct.
Y'all do not know what you're dealing with.
Correct. That's why I say the father is over his head because he doesn't know what he's dealing with now. He knows about Pokey. He knows about the bodyguard. He knows about everything else. But when he looks at the girl that's buff, he's like, don't know much about you. He's trying to figure it out, and I don't think he can figure it out. But I'm all for this. I'm all for the show. The show's hitting on all cylinders. I cannot wait. That is episode 31 of the Anime Dojo. I hope you did enjoy. We'll be back next week for episode 20, The Visitor for Deadmau Death Play. And then either with episode 42 of JJK or episode 1 of Attack on Titan, going through the full series now that's finished. Either one's going to be fun for me. I do not mind either one. I'd rather do the Attack on Titan thing. I'd rather do the Attack on Titan thing, give us something else to do while they go on a little hiatus, but either one will be fine. I hope you stay with us on this ride because the ending of Deadmau Death Play is going to probably make a lot of people think. And I think that's going to be something for season 3. When season 3 gets teased, whenever that happens, we're going to have some fun trying to figure out this rest of the story. Chris said he wanted to get the manga for JJK if it goes on hiatus. I just want to get the manga for this, for Deadmau Death Play. I want to see how this ends. Because it's kind of like I wish they just throw it all out there at once, but they can't. I get that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy. This will be up on the podcast on Spotify tomorrow, and then we'll go up on YouTube as of Thursday. Hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving, and we hope to hear you for next time. See you.
See you guys.